doubt. I know some preachers who will say, if you doubt your salvation, you're not saved. That's a bunch of bull. And it really is a bunch of bull. And I'll be real honest with you. There have been times that I've doubted. Say, what do? I go back and look at what happened. I go back and examine it. That's what it says in 2 Corinthians 13:5. Examine yourself. Just go back and look at it. I had a lady come to me. She said, preacher, I'm not saved. I said, okay. So you said you were saved. Yeah. Okay. Tell me what happened back then. So she gave me her testimony of what happened back then. And I said, I looked at her and said, okay, so what's wrong with it? She says, what? I said, what's wrong? If you're not saved, something was wrong with what happened back then. She says, well, nothing's wrong. I said, well, okay, if nothing's wrong with it, did you get saved back then? And she said, well, yes. I said, so why are you here? I don't know. I said, so are you saved? She said, well, yes. I said, okay, problem solved. You know, one of the situations, sometimes we get that way. We do. We get feeling that way. We begin to wonder. We are insecure at our very core. Something very good. I like that. Very good message. Good message for you to pay attention to. And if you think that you cannot doubt, then you're fooling yourself. There's just too much in there, not just salvation, but every part of the Christian life. There's many times I've doubted that I was called. I wondered, why would God call me? And God has said, how long? Just shut up and go do what you're supposed to do. Amen. Yes, sir. Amen. If you will, turn with me, please, to Hebrews chapter 12, verses 14 and 15. Hebrews chapter 12, verses 14 and 15. Unfortunately, whatever the least board it is, I hope you brought his whole Bible because we spent a lot of time in the Old Testament today. Sorry, kid. Verse 14, it says, follow peace with all men and holiness, without which no man shall see the Lord. Looking diligently, lest any man fail of the grace of God, lest any root of bitterness springing up trouble you, and thereby many be defiled. Let's pray. Father, thank you for your blessings. Thank you for the time. Thank you for this opportunity for the church, the faithfulness of these people who come out. I pray, Lord God, that you'll use me this morning. I pray, Father, that you'll begin to work, touch our hearts. Lord, if we have an issue with this problem, I pray, Heavenly Father, that you'll just deal with us. I ask you to fill me again and use me this morning. Lord God, that you'll give a great blessing to this church. Lord God, great things to see in their future. I pray, Heavenly Father, that they will follow in that path, with faith in you. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. In verse number 15, there is a statement made at the very beginning. It says, looking diligently lest any man fail of the grace of God. There are those who use that particular phrase to say, see, you can lose your salvation. Now, when somebody makes that statement using that verse, that, you know what they tell me? They tell me they don't know their Bible. You know what do you mean? Because they've confined grace to only salvation. Grace is not confined to just salvation. My Bible tells me to grow in the grace and knowledge of the Lord Jesus Christ. What the writer is saying there is this, that as you grow in grace, that something can enter into your life and stop that growth. And you become stagnant, and the grace in your life stops growing. See, all the way through my life, grace is to grow. See, how do you know that? Because the Bible says so. Grace is to grow in me as I continue to go. But if I let something enter in, something, sin, issue, it talks about an issue that will stop grace growing in your life. We'll get into that in just a minute. But if I let that happen, then grace stops growing. Have you ever seen a Christian who is cynical, bitter, angry? You say, wow, you know what happened? Grace stopped growing. What happened? The grace of God stopped growing in their life. Something happened. Something took place. Something was a situation. I watched this, and I watched this in people. I watched it among preachers. I watched it among people sitting in the pews. And I would say to you, I'm concerned about this personally in my own life. I don't want anything to hinder the grace of God growing in my life on a regular basis. As I get older, I hope that I get more gracious. One of the things that so impressed me about Brother Gates, I mean, I believe he's a good preacher. I really enjoyed his preaching. But the thing that impressed me most about him is he is a gracious man. That's what I saw that in him. I thought, boy, I want to be like that. That's the thing that impressed me. Above everything else, preaching was excellent. I enjoyed all of it. I want to tell you that issue that he is a gracious man. And that's what, as I get older, as I finally do get old, because I'm not old now, according to some children, be careful, I always have the last word. Remember, I'm a professional heckler. And I'm really, really good at it. So,
you've got a lot of years of experience.
a lot of years. Decades. Centuries. Keep it up, boy. He just doesn't know when to quit. He just doesn't know, does it? It's so much fun taking apart people like that. What would cause that grace and favor? Well, he mentioned something. And I've seen this a great deal. And he makes the statement here. In verse 15, he says, lest any root of bitterness spring in you. Bitterness is a killer. It's a destroyer. But you see, the problem with bitterness is this. Bitterness is not what you did. It's what somebody has done to you. Amen? See, it's one thing to have the lust of the flesh and sin. You know you've done something wrong, and you know you need to get that right. Okay? That's one thing. But bitterness is different. Bitterness is not that I have done something wrong, but that you have done something to me. It's interesting that the word forgiveness and the word bitterness are on opposite poles. The word forgiveness means to release from a debt, to let go of a thing. You know what bitterness means? To clutch to the breast. Hold on to it. We are commanded in the scriptures, in Ephesians chapter 4, verses 30 through 32, to not be bitter. Let all bitterness, not some, but all bitterness. God indicates to us that bitterness is not supposed to be part of our lives. And then he tells us why. You know why? Because God, for Christ's sake, hath forgiven you. In other words, you've done more to God than anybody can do to you. And God says, I require you to let go of that thing. And if you won't let go of that thing, I won't hear your prayers. I don't listen to you. I have found that if you declare that to God's people, they'll nod their head and say, oh yeah, Richard, you're right. And still stay in their bitterness. It's sad. It's terrible. I have found also that in the Old Testament, the New Testament truths are illustrated for us. I want to go back. I want you to see. I want to go back to the Old Testament. I want to go back to 2 Samuel. And I want you to look at the life of a particular man. And we're going to see what bitterness does. Some of you may be aware of this man. Some of you may already know where I'm going and may have already heard some things about this. That's fine. That's okay. Just refresh to you again what has been said. I want you to go back to 2 Samuel chapter 15. We're going to look at a man, and the man's name is Ahithophel. I want you to see this man, because this man will illustrate to you the results and the activities of what bitterness does. Go back to 2 Samuel chapter number 15. If you're familiar with your Bible, and if you know the incident that's taking place in 2 Samuel chapter 15, we have David fleeing from his son Absalom. Absalom has decided to overthrow the king. The Bible tells us that he has stolen the hearts away of the nation of Israel. David, in many of the cases in his life, is a picture and type of the Lord Jesus Christ. Absalom is the greatest picture in the Old Testament of the Antichrist. Interesting, a father and son. You know, I've always wondered why Absalom would seek to do this, because he was the eldest of the sons left living. And in truth, when David died, would be in great consideration to become the next king. But Absalom has decided he's going to overthrow Dad. And he goes, that just dumbfounds me. I mean, are you kidding? But yet this is the case. He's the greatest picture in the Old Testament of the Antichrist. So he has stolen the hearts of the children of Israel, and this is how he has done it. His dad has taken in judgment over situations with people. He has had to come to some judgments and said, okay, this guy's right, you're wrong, you have to pay, or you have to do this. And when this guy that was found to be wrong would leave, Absalom would say, if I was king, I would have decided for you. And he proceeded to steal their hearts. It is also believed in many of the commentators and many of those that there was a period of time that David had gotten sick and that Absalom exploited those issues, exploited that time. I don't know if that's true or not, but what has taken place is Absalom is stealing the hearts of the children of Israel. And he's finally gotten to the place where he's ready to overthrow Dad. He's ready to take over. And he calls out for this to take place. David hears of this, and in 2 Samuel chapter 15, David takes his men and takes his people with him, and he leaves Jerusalem. The reason he leaves is he does not want Jerusalem nor the tabernacle involved in a civil war. He doesn't want it to be destroying the city of Jerusalem. He doesn't want it destroying the tabernacle. So he has left. He has made the choice as the king to leave. We find him going up Mount Olivet, and as he's proceeding up, some things take place. And I want you to notice what is said here in 2 Samuel chapter 15, and it's verses 30 and 31. It says, and David went up by the ascent of Mount Olivet and wept as he went up. I can understand that. His son has turned against him, had his head covered, and he went barefoot. All the people that was with him covered every man his head, and they went up weeping as they went up. Now listen to this. And one told David, saying, Ahithophel is among the conspirators with Absalom. And David said, O Lord, I pray, turn the counsel of Ahithophel into foolishness. So we are mentioned about this man named Ahithophel. Well, who in the world is he? Ahithophel was one of David's counselors. He was one of the men who stood by David and counseled him over issues of state. There were several men, I should say, that would stand by the king, and then when somebody would present something, the king would call them in and he'd ask them for advice on what should we do about this and this. Ahithophel was one of those men. He was considered to be a very wise counselor, a great counselor. It is also believed that he's been with David a long time. How long, we don't know. He may even go all the way back to the 400 that came to David when he fled from Saul. We don't know that. But it's believed he's been with him a long time. It is also believed that David and him were good friends for many, many years. In fact, Psalms chapter 41, verse number 9, David speaks about his friend who they had gone to the house of God together, who has turned against him. It's believed that he's talking about Ahithophel. So all of these events and all of these things have taken place. And Ahithophel has turned against David, his friend, his king. And here's the question. Why? The Bible is an interesting book. It gives you a why, but you've got to look for it. Amen? Now let me show you some things. I want you to go with me, please, and I got to make sure I get the right address. Go with me to 2 Samuel chapter 23. Go to 2 Samuel chapter 23. Let's read something that I hate reading. So what is that? Genealogies. Who gave these people these names? My goodness. I can't, my wife bought me a self-pronouncing Bible, and it never pronounced one of them. I'm telling you, this is terrible. I don't understand it. I struggle greatly with it. It's not Bob and Harry and George. It's guys with names that are just absolutely incredible. And I wonder about this. I look at this and say, who gives people these names? But I want you to look at one of these, because genealogies are important. We don't like them, but they're important. First Chronicles, its first 12 chapters are extremely important. I can't read most of the names, but it is important. So look at verse number 34. We're only going to take a stab at one verse, not all of them. It says in verse 34, Eliphalet, the son of Ahashbah, the son of the Machite, Eliam, the son of Ahithophel, the Gileadite. So we're told something. Ahithophel had a son. His son's name was Eliam. So, well, there's more. I want you to go back to 2 Samuel, chapter number 11. Some of you already know where I'm going. That's all right. I'm the one doing the preaching. You just kind of follow along. 2 Samuel chapter 11. If you're familiar with Scripture, you know that this is the chapter where David commits adultery with Bathsheba and is responsible for the death of Uriah the Hittite. Okay? So you're all familiar with this chapter. Okay? Good. If you'll look with me, please, and let's make sure. Look at verses 2 and 3. It came to pass at eventide that David arose from off his bed and walked upon the roof of the king's house. He wasn't supposed to be there. He was supposed to be at war. Verse number 1 tells us, you know, when you're in the wrong place, you're going to get in trouble. Just so you know. That's nothing to do with the message. I just thought I'd bring it up. And from the roof he saw a woman washing herself. And the woman was very beautiful to look upon. And David sent and inquired after the woman. And one said, is not this Bathsheba the daughter of Eliam? But who's Eliam's dad? It's Ahithophel. Amen? But we read that, right? You know who Bathsheba is? That's Ahithophel's granddaughter. Amen? David, a contemporary with Ahithophel, has committed adultery with Ahithophel's granddaughter and has had Bathsheba's husband killed. And when Nathan the prophet comes in 2 Samuel chapter 12 and confronts David, Ahithophel is right there to hear it. Now, I don't know if he knew it in advance. I can't tell because it doesn't say. But he knew it then. Now, I'm a grandfather. I've got 8 grandchildren. 6 of them are girls. Okay? When we have a family get-together between my 3 daughters and 6 granddaughters, there is just way too much estrogen. For some reason, my son-in-laws were not there that day, and my son was not there, and we had all these women, me and my, at that time, only grandson. I've had a second one. I didn't have it. My daughter had it, obviously. And my grandson, we're sitting here eating dinner, and the women are talking. Now, women don't talk about the same things men talk about, okay? And the conversation was going directly downhill. I could see that right now. I looked at my grandson. I said, boy, get your plate. We are out of here. So him and I picked up our plate, and we went off into the family room and ate dinner, not having to listen to the conversation. I know you women get tired of it. You look at it and say, oh, you guys, when you talk about this and hunting and the sports and all this other kind of stuff. I understand that. But women have their own conversations, and we really don't care for those either. But I'm going to tell you something. I love my granddaughters. And you know, no matter how old they get, I've got a granddaughter who's 24 years old, but all I can see them is in their little ponytails, bouncing along, coming running, giving grandpa a big hug. I love my grandchildren better than I love my children. We should have had them first. Amen. They're so much better than children. Amen. Love them. Amen. Love my grandchildren. Let me tell you something. You hurt one of my grandchildren, you're in trouble. I will not be stopped. Those are my grandchildren. You need to understand. This is Ahithophel's granddaughter. What David did, according to the law, requires he be put to death. And God said no. The only death that took place was the child that Bathsheba had. So Ahithophel, see in his eye. He stood before the king, and his anger grew to bitterness. And he became very angry with God. But God didn't do what his word said. as he stood in the presence of David. I don't know the distance from 2 Samuel chapter 12 to 2 Samuel chapter 15. I've never figured it out. I imagine you can figure it out, but I know it's a couple of years. His bitterness grew. His anger grew. So, now Absalom, he sees this coming. He sees and desires to create a conspiracy against his father. Look back, if you would, to 2 Samuel chapter 15. So when Absalom is ready, he is now ready to overthrow his dad. If you will look in verse number 11, 2 Samuel 15, it says, and Absalom went, and with Absalom went 200 men out of Jerusalem that were called. They went in their simplicity, and they knew not anything. And Absalom sent for Ahithophel, the Gileonite, David's counselor, from his city, even from Gilead, while he offered sacrifices. And the conspiracy was strong, for the people increased continually with Absalom. So when Absalom prepared and was ready to overthrow his father, he makes a contact with Ahithophel to side with him. Now, as I said, Absalom is a great picture of an Antichrist. So here is Ahithophel, who has been the king's counselor, the king's friend, who has shown himself to be a man of great wisdom. And I'm assuming a godly man is now siding with the devil's crowd. He has been drawn in with the devil's crowd. I'm going to tell you something. You get bitter, the devil will know it. And his crowd will know it. And they will wait, the devil will wait for just the right moment where he can take you and he can draw you into his side, that he can create a problem and cause destruction amongst the people of God. I have seen it over and over again. There was a man in our church. His name was Jeff. He had been in our church for 20 years. He'd been a Sunday school teacher. I had led his wife to the Lord. My wife had been in the delivery room with his wife for their last 2 kids. In fact, when we would travel, his wife would give my wife money to buy clothes for her. We were very close. We went out to dinner many times, had been around. They had their second son had some problems and difficulties. He ended up involved in a homosexual lifestyle. We saw it coming. I tried to help him along those lines. I even got some material from Brother Hayes out of Oklahoma City. He's now gone home to be with the Lord. And he sent me some great material, and I gave them some of the great material. What I did not know is they became angry about this, that I would say this about their son. Now, their son has gone full-blown into the homosexual lifestyle. And he's out there involved in it. In fact, the older brother who was surrendered to preach is at Brother Jim Love's church in Cincinnati. The older brother will not allow his younger brother around his family because of how wicked his brother has become. And so this is going on. Unbeknownst to me, this man, Jeff, comes in and says, "Preacher, I need to talk to you." I come into your office, and he brought one of the deacons in. I'm not strange. He sits down, and I said, "Jeff, what you need?" And he says this, "I want you to understand that I hate you. I have always hated you. My wife hates your wife." I'm like, "What?" And we are leaving this church because this is an awful church. God's not in this church. He never has been in this church. He's been here 20 years. I'm a Sunday school teacher. I ain't dumbfounded. It's like somebody just backed over with me with a pickup truck. And I looked at him and I said, "What?" I never saw any of them blindsided by this. And I said, so the conversation goes on, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. I finally said to him, I said, "Jeff, if I were to resign, would you stay?" And my deacon jumped up and said, "Whoa, hold on just a second here. Preacher, you need to back off. No, we don't need to be talking like this." He looked at Jeff. He said, "Enough from you. Get out." I love it when you got deacons who got some backbone and are there to help their preacher. And he looked at Jeff and said, "You, get out." And he said, "Preacher, you need to sit down. You need to think about this." I had no idea that bitterness had been seething in him for a long period of time. And what did the devil try to do? Tried to use him to destroy the work of God. Now I'm going to tell you something. As a pastor, and this pastor has been involved in many years. You're in the pastor for this many years. You're going to see this happen. And you can already think of people in your mind. You also can think of people in your mind. This is the way it is. Bitterness gets in, and the devil waits for the time, and then he uses that person. And the serious problem is when he turns around and takes other people with him. Yes. Amen. This is a terrible thing. But that bitterness gets in there, and you go, what? What are you talking about? What are you doing here? That's what happened to Ahithophel. He got in this bitterness. This was the cause of it. He felt justified in these things, and now he is wrapped up in the conspiracy. You know what he's doing? When Absalom calls him, he's sacrificing unto God. Did you see that? He's being very religious and teaming with the devil. Oh. People do that? Yes, they do. They do. Why do you think this account is about? Why do you think this is here? They do this. This is what has happened with Ahithophel. The conspiracy is great. He has set himself into a place. He's offering sacrifices. His anger has grew. His disposition has changed. He's become vengeful, spiteful, no forgiveness, no willing to work things out. This is his desire. I want to destroy David. And it becomes the goal of his life. That's terrible. So, Ahithophel joins with Absalom. And they come into Jerusalem, and David is gone. So, Ahithophel says, Absalom says, Ahithophel, what do you think we ought to do next? Now that we're in Jerusalem. If you'll go with me, please, to chapter 16 of 2 Samuel, you will see the advice of Ahithophel. This just gets worse and worse. It's like, it's unbelievable. So David's gone. Absalom is in there, and so here he comes, where am I? I'm in the wrong chapter. Chapter 16, if you would. 2 Samuel chapter 16, verse number 20. Then said Absalom to Ahithophel, give counsel among you, what we shall do. So Absalom turns to Ahithophel and says, all right, Ahithophel, what's the next thing we should do? Listen to what he says. And Ahithophel said unto Absalom, go in unto thy father's concubines. David has left 10 concubines, 10 of the women, to take care of the palace, his concubines. Watch it. Which he hath left to keep the house. And all Israel shall hear that thou art a whore to thy father. Then shall the hands of all that are with thee be strong. So they spread Absalom a tent upon the top of the house. And Absalom went unto his father's concubines in the sight of all Israel. And the counsel of Ahithophel, which he counseled in those days, was if a man had inquired at the oracle of God. So was all the counsel of Ahithophel, both with David and with Absalom. That's just weird statement. I mean, that's just weird. But you know what he tells him? He says, what I want you to do is I want you to publicly go in, have sexual relationships with the 10 women your father had, so all Israel will know that you are a whore of your father and that you are ruling over your father. You know what he's saying? I want you to do to him what he has done to me. When he committed adultery with my granddaughter, I want you to go in and commit adultery with with his concubines. And I want all Israel to know. I want David, I want the message of this to get to David so he will feel the pain that I feel. I want him to understand what I felt when he did this with my granddaughter. You see, bitterness desires vengeance. That's what it wants. It wants to create pain, and it wants to strike out at somebody. You see, that's why the Bible says, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. I will repay. My job is to leave it in the hands of God. I'll show you an example of this. Get a little off track for just a second. We had been in Dubuque for about 2 years, and we rented the top of this house. And the owner lived underneath. It was kind of out in the country. It was a beautiful place. Very, very nice. It overlooked the city of Dubuque, one of the hills of Dubuque. Dubuque's very hilly. And you could look out and see the whole city from this house. We rented it. And we rented it for $225 a month. 3-bedroom, nice place. And the agreement, handshake agreement, was that they would never raise the rent more than $10 a year. Okay, so the next year would be $235. Okay? In July, we had gone there and moved there the 1st of August. So in July, they came to us and said, the 1st of July, they said, we're raising the rent on the 1st of August by $50. And I said, but we had a handshake agreement of only 10. They said, yes, you don't have that right. All right? I didn't have it right. I was foolish. I trusted lost people. I know better than that now. I don't do that anymore. And I went to my wife and told my wife, I said, we can't afford this. $275 is more than we can afford. We've been there 2 years, my wife and I, or a year and a half, 2 years, my wife and I are both working jobs, and we can't afford this. And so we're going to have to move. So about the 4th of July, I went to these people, and I said to them, look, well, we're going to have to move. We can't afford this. So the 1st of August, we will move out. And this is what they said. Because you haven't given us a 30-day notice, we're keeping your deposit. Well, thanks a lot. The top of it all, we were on fuel out there. And at the end of the season, we had spent over $200 to pay our share of filling the fuel oil tanks for the next winter. We didn't have a whole lot of money. We weren't making hardly anything. I'm making $4.50 an hour. My wife is making $4 an hour. That's a lot of money. So what'd you do? I gripped my teeth and I walked out. I told my wife, and she was livid, absolutely livid. She said, you didn't take it to people in court. I said, listen, we've got nothing. I've got nothing in writing. I said, we just need to leave this in the hands of God. So we prayed about it. They said, well, because it will be hard for us to rent this place, we have to keep your deposit on this shorter notice. So we found a place to live, we moved out. Moved out on the 30th of July. We had forgotten a couple of boxes, and on the 2nd of August, we came back to get those boxes. Okay. When we came back to get those boxes, their son, who had lost his job, John Deere, the 1st of June, was already moved in to that place. They did all of that to get rid of us. Now my wife is really worried about it. I was mad too, but I was trying to be the spiritual person. So I said, look, just let it go. Let it go. Go. If you harbor this is going to be a problem for us. Let it go. We prayed about it. Let it go. 2 years later, we're driving down the road that goes past where this house was at, going out one of the rivers. And my son said, hey, Dad, you remember that place we used to live in? I said, yeah. He said, a plane hit it. My son Robert was known for telling stories. Okay? He's like 10 or 12 years old, and he was really good at telling stories. I told Robert, you know what you're talking about. No, Dad, my buddy lives across the street told me a plane hit that thing. So we went out to one of the church members, about a mile or two down the road, and mentioned him. I said, hey, he said, oh, preacher, I forgot to tell you. There was some fog, and there's this great big tower next door to the house, and a little plane came and hit that tower and landed on the roof of that house. He said, took out the whole roof, took out the whole top story. Well, so when we left there, we drove by, and sure enough, there was no top story. The county would not let them rebuild the top of that story. Now, two things. Either number one, God got us out of there knowing that that plane was going to hit. Or number two, God judged. You know what I found? Leave it in the hands of God. He can do a whole lot better job than you can.
Amen. Amen.
Amen. Just let that thing go, leave it in the hands of God, and He will take care of it. Amen. But here's old Ahithophel. He said, go ahead and do this under the dead. I want to get even with him. I want him to feel the pain I'm feeling. So Absalom does that. So Absalom says, okay. He says, well, Ahithophel, what do you think we ought to do next? And so in chapter 17, you'll find that Ahithophel says, he says, you know what you need to do next? Give me 12,000 men, and I'll go after your dad. And when I go after your dad, when the people that are with your dad see me with this army of 12,000 men, they will scatter, and I'll hunt down your dad, and I'll kill your dad and bring his body back to you. Man alive. This guy's bitterness is really going far. And Absalom says, yeah, that sounds pretty good. It sounds pretty good. Hey, bring Hushai in. Now, Hushai was a guy who was on David's side. He was also one of David's counselors. And if you go back to 2 Samuel chapter 15, he wanted to go with David. And David stopped him and said, listen, Hushai, I love you, but you're not a soldier, son. You're not a fighter. That's all there is to it. I want you to go back. And I want you to become a counselor to Absalom. Basically become a spy for David. You confound the wisdom of Ahithophel. And you keep me informed about what Absalom's going to do, which is exactly what Hushai did. So, Absalom calls in Hushai. He says, come here, Hushai. This is what Ahithophel has said. What do you think? Look at what Hushai had to say. Verse number 7, chapter 17. And Hushai said unto Absalom, the counsel that Ahithophel hath given is not good at this time. In other words, don't do this. Absalom, why? He says, you know your dad. Your dad's a fighter. He says, your dad has been a fighter since Goliath. And he's not afraid to take on a large crowd. And you know those mighty men that stand with him, they will fight to the death. They're not going to flee. And he says, and if those men turn, one of those guys killed 800 men by himself in a pea patch. These guys are warriors. They might go down without a fight. And you send those 12,000 men, and you think they're going to run. They're not going to run. They're going to turn, and they're going to fight. And then if that army that you sent out gets defeated, then Israel's going to say, well, wait a minute, whoa, maybe we picked the wrong guy here. Maybe we got to go back to the dad. And Absalom says, you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. Hushai says, you need to get your whole army together and go after your dad. Piece of it's not a good idea. Absalom said, that's fine. I agree with you. Ahithophel, we're not listening to counsel. Now, not a good idea. Because Ahithophel was so lifted up with all of his bitterness and all of his anger. When his plan was rejected, it struck him deeply in his heart. You know what he did? Tell you what he did. It says what he did. It says he went home. He set his house in order. And he hung himself. That's what bitterness like. You see, bitterness, as they say, is the poison you take to hurt somebody else. get bitter, you're going to hurt your children. You won't hurt your grandchildren. The people you love, it's just not worth it. It really isn't. You let that thing go. You don't let that thing stay. And hit it, they'll die. Let me tell you about this message. I've been preaching this particular message since I was 26 years old. All right? Do the numbers, it's a long time. But I didn't come up with this message. I had a preacher come in and preach a revival meeting, a preacher that I thought great, it was a great preacher. And he told me, he said this, he said, Bob, he said, we're going to go out, we're going to eat tomorrow at lunch. He said, bring your Bible with you. Bring a piece of paper and your ink. Yes, sir. This man was a great preacher. I thought very highly of him. And he was willing to come and preach to a revival meeting in a storefront to a small group of people. And he's been very gracious. So we went to eat lunch, and I had my Bible sitting in a piece of paper. We got that eating lunch. He says, okay, Bob. He says, I'm going to give you something. And he gave me the points of this message. He walked me through it. He's the one who showed me these verses. He said, here, 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 and here. Gave me the 3 points. The cause, the conspiracy, the conflict. He gave me these 3 things. He said, now, this is your message. You preach it everywhere you go. Yes, sir. I was 26, 27 years old. I thought very highly of this man. Amen. This was a message above my abilities at that time. Wow. And I preached it several times. About 10 years after I preached it, I noticed something. He didn't give me a cure. And I looked at his life. And you know what it was? This preacher, who was way better than all of them, had something happen in his life that caused him to become bitter. He was treated badly by the church. Became very bitter over it. And he ended his ministry in obscurity. And he was very bitter. And it can happen to him. It can happen to me. You see, that message he gave me was about him, and I didn't know it. But the one thing he didn't give me was a cure. Because he never exercised the cure in his own life. In Exodus chapter 15, they had bitter waters. They came to the bitter waters. The people murmured. They murmured and complained to Moses. Moses went to God. God said, take a tree, throw it in the waters. The bitter waters make it sweet. It's a picture and type of the cross. Thrown into the bitter waters. You know how you get rid of bitterness? Cross. The child of God. I can't go to the cross and see Christ dying for me and be angry at anybody. I'm sorry. Because I know what I've done to put him there. That's why God says in Ephesians chapter 4, let all bitterness and wrath and anger put away from you. He says, why? Because God, for Christ's sake, has given you. Amen. You let it go. You don't hold on to it. Because it'll destroy you. And this preacher, who was way better than I'll ever be, it destroyed him. And I don't want that to happen to me. So no matter what anybody does to me, I'm not going to let it become a thing that I carry. I am going to let it go. Amen. Let God take care of it. Amen. I will let God have favor and not myself. And I'll let God balance the scales. And I'll let God deal with it. Because I don't want to end my life in bitterness, because it is the exact opposite of ending my life in grace. you would have been in the sketch. You gotta hit the fellow.